from all, to all, with all, for all, through all. We thank the gods of creation. We thank the ancestors. We thank the forces of nature. And we thank the earth. We thank them for their direction, their protection, their guidance, for keeping us, showing us, allowing us to know and enjoy life to its fullest, now and later.
Black people who once loved with the slow march of time. Time was ours to hold in the soft, low-born chambers of our hearts. And was we, the Afro mommies and daddies of a sun world, would turn our strands of hair into antennas to tune in the juju madness and syncopated love rhythms of Africa. And we loved with time, and we took the time to love, and with the right time we loved, and we loved time after time. Will we ever love again? Will we ever love again? Will we really ever love again? Or will we just sit and rot away with the brighter tomorrows in the skag field, rat-cluttered halls of our minds?
Black people, what y'all gonna do? Black people, what y'all gonna do?
Will the real black people please stand up?
Let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. Let it resound loud as the rolling sea. Sing a song full of the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us, facing the rise.
Jumbo Habarian, welcome once again to our story, the program that makes being black positive, relevant, desirable, and true to a lost nation in America. A program that speaks to the historical significance of the original people of the earth. Our Story Network takes pride in setting itself away from other programs that centers on entertainment or rhetorical mumbo-jumbo that misdirects your attention onto other things that causes you to exhaust your resources and renders you brain dead. It is our story who talks about commitment to you and your people. It is our story that champions the reestablishment of the black genius that once ruled the world. It is our story that focuses you in on the rewards of black advocacy, black activism, black involvement, and black power. It is our story that encourages survival of the black race and solicits your involvement to that end. Black folks must remember, race first is the call of the day, and we as a people must, I say must, take the pledge if we, the people of the original race, expect to survive. As I take the many lessons I have received over the years and reflect upon them by sharing these lessons with my brothers and sisters, I realize the power that we as a people possess for the most part has gone unnoticed. The masses of black folks who have been rendered lost and disenfranchised from the meaning and mission our creators intended for us to embrace is all but depleted. It is because of the mission and meaning of the life of our ancestors that I realized how blessed as black people we really are. What fascinates me are the many gifts I have been granted, which allows me to distribute the information onward to you. As always, that message begins and ends with the importance of blackness. Say it loud, I'm black and I'm proud. Greetings, friends, comrades, family, the inquisitive onlookers, and our beloved viewers. Welcome, welcome, and welcome to our Story Network. We thank you for being with us this evening, and we trust you will take something of value away with you after the program. That is the aim and goals of our Story Network, the network that leads the pack in modern day communications and ancient and modern education. I say ancient and modern education because of the many errors we have found in the translations and interpretations of ancient records. The modern revelations by new black scholars have opened the window of discovery that has allowed the truth and knowledge originally disseminated by the black masters of education to flourish once again. This is one of the stumbling blocks that has kept black people from rebuilding their greatness and recapturing their birthright. Good evening, brothers and sisters. Welcome to our Story Network, the program that unapologetically stands up and speaks up for black people who cannot stand or speak for themselves. I know this sounds like a far-fetched Alice in Wonderland fairy tale, because today's black population is so far removed from the realities of our ancestors that we as black people do not honor our birthrights. We have forgotten who we are and what power we hold. While other ethnic groups is waiting and watching black people's every move, black people choose to shuck and jive about everything from soup to nuts. Don't get me wrong. Shucking and jiving that black people do has been very profitable for white people. Once again, I am pointing out the inadequacies of the black intellect, whereby black people have and continue to set the trend in all forms of European society. I mention the black intellect because they are the ones who are rendered the vanguards of the black race and the black community. In forgetting our birthrights, we forget the principles from which we, the black people of the earth, were chosen to foster the secrets of the universe. I must point out that the knowledge of the universe is not a secret. All forms of animal life are aware of the total constructs of life and living. It is the wandering ones who are not astute in the rhyme and reason of life. It is the wandering ones who have displaced the humanity of this earth and replaced it with chaos and confusion. When we look at the historical records and the documentations that is set in line with the historical records, we find humanity begins and ends with the black race. The problem of America and other colonized territories held under European rule become clear and undeniable that the world, as we know it, is controlled and ruled by aliens. Aliens from another mindset. Aliens from another creation. A creation separate and apart from the creation that created the planet Earth and the chosen people who inhabit this planet. Until then, black people must suffer. Black people must serve the demonic colonizers who forced the black race to bow down to the imitators, i.e. the aliens who hold the position of God in this world. Now, before this past Monday, I had already scheduled our guests for tonight. And since any and all efforts to curb child abuse is near and dear to my heart, I have a guest who is doing something about the cause and effect of child abuse. But Before we get into the topic for tonight, I want to alert you to black people's abuse that is constantly a part of black life and life in the black community. As many of you know, I have been involved in the struggle to educate and mobilize black people towards freedom. As an activist and advocate of people returning to their given place of stewards of this earth, I encourage activisms at all levels. This job entails the displacement of the alien forces who enslaved the people of color on the face of the earth. This past week, 3 of the members who hold leadership in the new Black Panther Party were detained and had their passports devalued while flying from New Orleans to Toronto, Canada. Many people throughout the United States mobilized to assist the leadership of the new Black Panther Party in their plight against the hostile actions from white supremacy. I have nearly an hour interview I had with the leadership of the new Black Panther Party this past Monday. I will play a small segment from that interview this evening with plans to play the entire episode in coming weeks. The national leader of the new Black Panther Party, Crystal Muhammad, explains what happened to the delegation. Run the footage, please.
We have the new Black Panther Party with us this afternoon. They're just fresh from coming in from Canada. They were to travel to London, and 2 of them were stopped in Toronto and refused to be able to fly any further. Crystal Muhammad is the leader of the new Black Panther Party. And Crystal, what was this experience like for you when you met these racists in Toronto, Canada, when they pulled you off of the plane and wouldn't let you board another plane? Tell us what happened there.
All right, we had actually left New Orleans, and we had a connecting flight from New Orleans to Toronto, and it would have been from Toronto to London. But after we went through an extensive security search and whatever the Homeland Security has to do in New Orleans, we actually had to get help from a Congress lady who we had in Houston to push us through to make it through New Orleans for her making contacts with Homeland Security and TSA, because they've been harassing us at the airports for years, just on domestic flights. And it started when we came back from South Africa in 2016 for me. And moving forward, once we made it through the extensive security check in New Orleans, a TSA agent literally had to walk us to the gate to be able to make the flight to Toronto. Once we got to Toronto, we all had to scan our passport. Everybody getting off the plane, you have to scan your passport in order to either go connecting on another international flight, or if you were going to make a connection in somewhere else in Canada. So they had like a little fork. So I scanned mine. It went through my passport, scanned to go through to the international side. So did the brothers. We had a connecting flight. This would have been about 3 o'clock, 3:30. Our next connecting flight would have been about 7:30. So we were waiting to get on. As everybody got on the plane, first the brothers, their passports and boarding passes went through. When I handed them mine, the lady kept saying mine was invalid. My passport was invalid. My passport was invalid. They tried it several times. A little white lady came. They called her over, some supervisor. This is Air Canada that we were on. The lady came over and she said that my barcode was invalid, that I needed to go get another passport. She was not gonna let me on the plane. The Congress lady, the same Congress lady, Sheila Jackson Lee, she was calling to find out what was going on. Once we notified her that they were detaining us in Canada, she talked to the lady and told her that the embassy would in London would take care of it just to let us get on the flight. Like, why did she need my passport anyway? If I'd already cleared security, we were just connecting. Because all you're supposed to do is give them a boarding pass. That's the protocol at any airport. I've already cleared security. So she refused to let me on it. She said that the barcode wasn't reading, that my passport was damaged, and I needed to go to the consulate that next morning. This went on. They had closed the door and let the people go ahead and get on the flight. The flight wound up leaving. She actually tried to get the brothers to go on without me. And they was like, no. She was like, well, people do it all the time. And they were like, we're not leaving. So we wound up going to go get a room because we were just going to just stay at the airport and try to get this thing straight first thing in the morning with the embassy. They said we had to leave the property, the airport. We had to be escorted out the airport, in fact. So we were escorted out. This is Air Canada at this time. So when we made it to the consulate the next morning, this would have been Thursday morning. On the way there, I received a call. Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee had a lady by the name of Wendy Kennedy call from the State Department in Washington, D.C. to tell us the process of what I needed to do to go get an emergency passport. And she told me I just need to go take 2 passport pictures, go pay the fee. I should be able to get an emergency passport that day, and then head out to a later flight.
Now, as I said, we would bring you the full interview when I return in 2 weeks. Before I go on with this, I just want to take a brief moment to talk about Solitary, which is a book by Albert Woodfox, who wrote this book after his 43 years in Angola in solitary confinement for that long. He was being brutalized because he was an actual Panther, and there were 2 other Panthers with him that received the same kind of treatment. Many of you are familiar with Albert and the other 2. They were known as the Angola 3. So I would suggest that you make this a must for your reading list. Solitary by Albert Woodfox. And you will learn a lot about not only the prison system, but you'll learn about racism in this wilderness called America. Now, as you can see, this was a meaningful interview for the black community. Next week, Brother Johnny will be with you. I will return in 2 weeks with the full version of this interview. For tonight, I want to introduce to our viewers once again, because she's been with us before, Demetrice Martin Morris, CEO of Louisiana Royal Hearts and organizer of LA Royal Hearts 5K Run Walk Race, being held on Saturday, April 27th, starting at 9 a.m. We welcome once again Demetrice, and congratulations on your 5K run walk to root out child abuse. Mm-hmm. Tell our audience about LA Royal Hearts Foundation and the 5K run walk you have scheduled.
Okay. Well, Louisiana Royal Hearts started 3 years ago to collaborate with the CAC to bring awareness to child abuse and the prevalence in our own community. And we felt like there was runs for every cause except for child abuse itself. And so I collaborated with a few friends along with the CAC, and I started the Root Out Child Abuse 5K 3 years ago. This is our 3rd year, and so this year we are actually going to be at Crescent Park on next Saturday and we have a lot of things lined up for you guys. We have performances, free food, free drinks, along with medals for every participant that crosses the finish line. So we just try to make sure that we are promoting child abuse awareness. You will also have an opportunity to sign up for any of our prevention classes that will be upcoming, as well as any of our group sessions for our survivors. And I even have a sponsor who wants to sponsor any person who would like to register for the race who has been a victim of abuse.
All right. Now, we have also with us a young lady who has an organization called LA Dream Academy, and this is for people who are involved in human trafficking. I would assume females mostly, and we're going to get to her because she has an interesting concept that she's going to be introducing to the area soon, and we want to talk with her. But before I introduce her, I want to talk to my old friend, good friend, Hezekiah, who did some time in the military. She has also done time in the military as well, and coincidentally, she has done some shooting, pistol shooting in the Army. So I thought you would like to hear that little side note to her stint in the U.S. military while she was serving this country. But I want to introduce Kathleen Campbell, who is with LA Dream Academy, and she is focusing on victims of human trafficking. Kathleen, I want to welcome you and thank you for being with us this evening, and tell us a little bit about your program and what you are planning to do here in the region of Louisiana.
My program is a home. It's a group home for girls that have been victims of abuse and human trafficking. We're opening up in the North Shore area. What we're going to do is we're going to provide education for these girls to get their high school diplomas if they choose. We're going to give them leadership training. Leadership training is a very important thing, and it's going to be based on the military values. We're also going to do health and hygiene with these girls and have outreach programs and bring in counselors to come counsel the girls that need help, with the trauma that they've encountered over their years. The girls in the home are all going to be under 18 years old.
Okay. Now, I see in your brochure that you are partnering with LA Royal Hearts Foundation. So you're going to be, are you going to be participating with the 5K run?
I am.
Oh, great.
We're going to be out there supporting Miss Morris. My whole team is going to be out there. I have a group of young ladies that are coming out, and we're going to do the 5K walk run.
Very good, very good. Now, Demetrice, let's talk about this 5K run. Actually, it will be a week from this coming Saturday.
Correct.
Tell us where it's going to be and what they have to do in order to become involved in the 5K run walk.
Okay. Well, the race is going to be at Crescent Park, which is at the edge of the French Quarters off of South Peters and Legion Fields. We will be at the Mandeville Wharf. Registration is $35 up into the race, and you can register even on the day of the race. You can also go to laroyalhearts.com to register as well and hit the registration link in order to register for the walk. We also have children registration, which I want to say is about $20 or $25 now, since we're kind of within the last week of registration. We will have performances, like I said before, and some free food, free drinks. We'll have Bamsey Baby Productions, who will also be entertaining our kids. We'll have some dance groups, so if anybody wants to join and get their kids active, we'll have New Orleans Library as well. We'll have a whole bunch of vendors and sponsors who will be out there. ensuring that you guys are having a good time and enjoying, and you'll get a chance to meet some victims and hear their stories and how they have overcome this process of abuse and what they've had to go through. And so you'll get a little bit about that as well. So again, this is about child abuse and ending it. So the first way is to be aware and then to learn what you need to do to stop it.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, you are a nonprofit, is that correct?
I am.
So this is not a retail sale, but this is to raise money so that you can create these programs for the children who have been abused. Is that right?
Correct. We one of the things that we will be doing this year, as you know, with the funds that are raised from the race, is to do some life coaching, some group counseling sessions. We don't want money or the ability to not be able to pay for those services to be a barrier to people who are seeking those services. We'll have some art therapy class coming up in May. Where, for victims of abuse, adult victims, where we'll be able to help them process their trauma through art and begin to just kind of be like an icebreaker in order to start to come to grips with what has occurred and how it's affecting their lives today.
Would you put the number up on the screen so we can open up the phone lines? People can call in if they want to get involved in the conversation with questions or comments. Thank you very much. Let me ask you this, because you had said earlier that those that come from an abused environment, background, there is scholarships available for them to participate. Is that correct?
Correct.
How would they go about looking into this and qualifying for those scholarships?
One, they would have to be a victim of abuse, and then they would just have to they would have to contact me personally. So they can give me a call, or they can send me a message on email, social media. I'm reachable. 421-3794. They can give me a call, and then we'll just go from there. We'll register them for the race. We have a couple sponsors that has said, hey, I can't make it, but I'll pay for some victims of abuse to join the race.
And that is 504
504
421
3794.
3794. And if they wanted to contact you by email, or you have a site, don't you?
Correct. They can go to laroyalhearts.com and hit the contact button. It'll come directly to me, and they can contact me at through email at contact@laroyalhearts.com.
Now, this is not the first year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
It is not.
Yeah, this is about your third year.
Yep, my third year.
Now, in the past, in the last 2 years, you have seen children, I'm sure, and now they're starting to get larger and bigger and growing. What is, from your viewpoint, what is the impact of your organization on the group that you service?
What I'm seeing with the group of people that I service with child abuse healing and going through that process is that you start to see stronger people. We deal with topics that are unconventional, things that are kind of tabooish when it comes to victims of abuse, dealing with the idea that sex was pleasurable. And one of those things that victims have struggled with admitting is that it was pleasurable to an extent, and they feel guilt, and that guilt often haunts them and keeps them captive. And so in our group sessions, we try to deal with that as well. And of course, if we feel that that person needs intensive care, I have some licensed staff or licensed social workers who I can refer them to and get them involved as well to kind of do some more in-depth therapeutic stuff with them.
Now, when we're talking about sexually abused children, and when we're talking about abused children, we want to try, since you're partnering with Kathleen over here. I want to find out from Kathleen, what is the significance, or what is the thread, the same thread that runs through your group that you service with human trafficking that relates to Demetrice?
Okay, well, the children that I work with, they're all underage children that have been abused, victims of crime. They didn't do the crime themselves, but they were part of the crime. And so, again, they have that guilt. They feel like, well, if I wouldn't have did this, or if I wouldn't have done that, then I wouldn't have been in that situation. And the awareness that Demetria gets out is the same awareness that I'm trying to get out, that children aren't responsible for what they do, but grown-ups are. And that abuse is real, and it's running wild.
Now, let me ask you, because I don't know in this day and age with all of the information vehicles that we have available, but explain exactly what human trafficking is.
Well, it's when a child is made to perform sexual acts with grown-ups against their will. Some of the children that have been victims, their family members sold them to the pimp, is what they call them, the person that's trafficking them. Some of them were runaways, and they didn't have a place to go. And these people brought them in and made them feel like they had a family. And they used that to get them to do sexual acts with grown-ups. So it's abuse all the way around.
Now, are you finding any degree of difficulty in recruiting or being able to reach out and save these children?
No. There are so many children that are in the system right now that this home that I'm opening, it can be filled to capacity. I'm only taking 6 girls at this time, but I know that there are other homes that could be opened, and we would have enough homes, girls to fill each home.
Demetrice, your program, when a child enters your program, what is the general length of time that they're with you?
With me, it's more of outpatient. So it's not a group of time. I make sure that they're also getting therapeutic therapy as well, because it's more intense. What I provide is case management assistance, information, and I follow them. I do group sessions with them, so they get a chance to kind of get something that they're not getting from their therapist. Because some of the kids will need medication in order to cope, and that is not something that I provide or want to provide. I do think that sometimes it may be necessary for a short period of time, but it's not something that I want to engage in. But I do see the necessity in some of the kids, especially when they are fresh from the abuse or fresh with coming to grips with it. They definitely struggle with sleeping. They struggle in school. They struggle with dealing with the stress or the anxiety, fear, and definitely signs of PTSD. And they tend to need some extra help until their minds and their brains can process what's happened to them, and then they're able to accept it and then to deal with it, and then reacclimate to their surroundings.
Let's go into a different direction for a minute here.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to tell parents and adults?
Okay. With parents and adults, I just think prevention is key. When you guys hear and see something, trust it. Trust your gut. Sometimes it's not worth a relationship, or it's not worth the person being in your child's life, because what happens, what happens when you're afraid to say, oh no, they can't go with you, or oh no, just forgetting what you feel. That failure to protect your child, that failure to act, has life-changing. It's just life-changing for that child. Life is never the same once a child is abused, and so for them, they begin to see the world in a whole nother way. So prevention is key. Understanding what you're seeing, what you're knowing, what you're doing, and how to respond to that. Many of our parents have a tough time admitting that this is something that is happening in our community and that they're vulnerable to it. A lot of single parents, oh no, that will never ever happen to my child. And time again, it is their child. I got a call recently about a child that I had known who I had suspected that their father could have been a perpetrator, where they finally opened up and said, yeah, he did. He touched me. And so, things like that. I mean, this happens every day, and I know the mother so well. She struggles. She struggles, and in her mind, oh, that would have never happened. But it's those community people, it's those charismatic guys, it's even women. I mean, we're seeing in the news, it's mothers. It's mothers having sex with their 2-year-old kids and their 3-year-old kids. And right now there's a 2-week-old baby fighting for her life because she was raped by her father. So these are things that are happening every day, and it's through people who we know as people who we bring into the lives of our children. And so we just have to understand that anybody can be a perpetrator, so we have to do protective measures. There should be policies in the home when anyone is left with your child. There should be, if cameras are necessary, 2 and 3 people being in the home. Never leave a child with someone you're not comfortable with. And sometimes even fathers or mothers, if they're not, totally stable sometimes, is not always the best thing.
Kathleen, what would you tell the adults and parents that about human trafficking that may help save them from a lot of sickness and grief having to deal with a damaged child?
I would tell them to listen to their children. If a child is withdrawn, pay attention to your child. If they start withdrawing from you and withdrawing from family and friends, pay attention. Ask them what's wrong. Ask them, Be involved in their lives. Get involved and stay involved. And just be there for them.
What human trafficking, from what I'm understanding of it, is more or less the child is outside of the home. Is that generally the case?
That's not in all cases, no.
Okay.
There are cases where the father, when the mother goes to work, he's letting his friends come by because he's either an addict himself, and the mother doesn't know about it.
What kind of signs can we look for that we should be able to tell something out of the unusual is going on?
Withdrawing from everything, not wanting to participate anymore, not watching television, closing off to everyone. That's a big sign.
And Demetrice, tell me, at your 5K runs,
Yes.
what is it that you can look back and say people got out of it, and how has it helped you in your crusade?
The race is a way of bringing awareness. So what it has happened is people are starting to feel more comfortable with talking about it. They're feeling more comfortable with understanding, oh wow, I'm not by myself. This is not just something that has happened just to me. Even some of the performers have experienced abuse, and they're like, oh wow, I didn't realize that they do this. I didn't know that this is a public thing now, and so with that, they find strength to tell someone, because not every person that comes have said that they are victims of abuse, but through the race and through the awareness and the things that I've done, I'm getting more and more people who are coming out and saying, yeah, I was a victim too. This happened to me, and this happened so many years ago, and thank you for doing this. And I mean, they're feeling empowered.
I remember having discussions along this line with some other guests, and I'm getting the impression that we have a revolving door where people that have been abused either end up being abusers or end up falling prey again with their children. Yeah, so tell us about that.
So for the first aspect with those who have become abusers, one of the things that you kind of see that can be common is that as victims age, they become part of recruiting, which is also could be a form of human trafficking, where they recruit younger people, younger siblings, younger cousins. They bring it and they begin to be a part of the act of abusing, along with the actual perpetrator themselves. With that begins to teach and foster more abuse. That young person then learns what to do and becomes comfortable with being an abuser. So that attraction comes. The other thing is those of us who become subject to it happening again. And one of the things is we build up such a shell and such a wall as this alternate reality where this does not happen, and I'm going to do everything in my power that it won't. And what we do is we set ourselves up because we've not sought the healing or the treatment that we need as adults or as victims who've become adults, and we've not received that healing, that we again fall prey into what we've known, those demeanors, we grew uncomfortable with what that perpetrator was to us. The grooming process in abuse. Okay. The victim, what we become accustomed to is that comfortability, and that comfortability of that perpetrator that they provided, that shelter or that feeling that they provided is what we seek after. Like most people say, okay, most people look for their fathers, and so with that being said, most people look for what they have received, and they've received something from that perpetrator that is innate, that comes from the inside, and then they look for it in their adult life unknowingly, and then they attract the same thing that they've experienced.
We have a caller on the line, and I want to ask the caller to turn their TV down, talk to us directly in and through the telephone, if you would, please. Caller, we appreciate your participation, and we thank you for watching our story. What is your question or comment?
Thank you very much. The guest might have said this before, but I would like to know how prevalent is this in the black community in New Orleans, and is it among all income classes? Is it getting worse? Thank you very much.
Thank you. How prevalent is it in the black community, and is it getting worse?
Worse, the numbers say it's not. I'm not sure if I agree with that. The numbers said that we're getting better. The more we're reporting, the more we're becoming agents of prevention, then more people are becoming aware. They're protecting their children better, and so it supposedly is getting better. In the black community, I think it's getting worse because we have this false sense of what we have done and what our ancestors have done in raising us, that says, oh, I don't let my child go do this, and I don't let my child, and the discipline that we provide, we say, okay, I whoop my child, or I do this to my child, or my child will never do that, or my child's gonna tell me, or what we have found is that, and this is very shocking but to say, but I'm gonna say it out loud, is that most victims tell me, oh, I didn't tell my mom because I thought I was gonna get a whooping. So inadvertently, what their child is saying is, I'd rather get a whooping. I'd rather be raped than to get a whooping. And to hear that out loud for a parent, they're like, wow. Yeah, so what we do is we foster a fear of us that child won't tell you that they're being abused because they're so afraid of you. They're so afraid of being whooped, because this is what we've learned, is that we beat our children into submission, that now that child is so afraid that because they've enjoyed or it's been sexually pleasurable, or they've had some physical release from the act of abuse, that they're indeed in trouble. That perpetrator is going to tell you, and so they use that to say, oh, you're going to be in trouble, and now that child is so afraid of you, they'd rather be raped every night than to come home and tell you that that person that you love is hurting them.
Kathleen, with your situation, with your organization and dealing with human trafficking, is it getting better? Is it getting worse? Is it across the economic lines? What is the situation with human trafficking?
From my experience, it's even. When I had a home that I worked in. I had 8 girls. 4 were African Americans, and 4 were Caucasian. So I think it's even kill. I don't think they care what color you are. They just pull you. If they can get you, they will pull you in. We had a case where there were Hispanic girls that were being trafficked. So I don't think it's any nationality. I think they just want young girls.
Let me ask you something, because she mentioned about recruiting. In human trafficking, what do you find as far as recruiting goes? And is this a problem when you bring children into a setting like yours who may be recruiters?
True. It happens. It has happened, and it does happen. What we have to do is equip our staff. My staff is equipped to see the signs of packs. We have in each room we have we have cameras in the doors. They can't go inside of the rooms, but we watch what they're doing. We watch their conversations. We listen to what they're saying. And yes, they have been some girls that have been recruited from the homes, and they run away together, thinking that their life is going to be better. And in weeks' time, they come back. So the grass is not always greener on the other side.
And what is it that can be done from a societal point of view to reduce child abuse in this country?
Prevention. Prevention, see something, say something. We definitely have to stop sweeping things under the carpet. We have to be able to be bold enough and strong enough to protect children. And so until we start to, produce some protective things, expose, make sure our kids are, as parents, we have to be present. We have to be active. I understand all of us have to work and we have to get babysitters, but making sure that cameras are available. Now most daycares have camera systems, ensuring that your child is in one that is actually watching, what's going on. Making sure that you're not leaving kids with people who are not trained and who, you're doing background checks. Making sure that you're present. Pop up if you need to. Go off schedule. Check on your child. Talk to your child. Teach your child the no areas. Empower your kids to learn to say no. Don't make them, hug Aunt Sally and kiss Uncle Joe all the time. Allow them the right to say no, because then kids are empowered to control their own bodies. And when things are not comfortable for their child, they have a right and they're comfortable with telling you and saying, hey, so-and-so touched me this way and I didn't like it and I said no to him and he did it anyway, but what we've done in the Black community is we said, oh, it's disrespectful to not kiss Aunt Sally when you go into her house or she comes over. That child may not want Aunt Sally kissing her. And so what we do is we teach them that it's not okay to tell an adult no. And so those are just some little things that, I've seen, keeping those lines of communication open, where that child can tell you anything.
Kathleen, I'm going to throw you a curve.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's been my experience that under the current administration, the Trump administration, that human trafficking has not been a priority, and monies have been misappropriated from human trafficking and gone to other places. Where are we today in this country with the government moving in a way that would decrease human trafficking, and why is it doesn't seem to be a problem, especially with this administration?
Well, I think it is a problem. Human traffickers make over $150 billion a year off of selling children. And the governor of Louisiana has gotten a $1.2 million grant to help awareness, to support wellness, seminars and symposiums that will help people understand what human trafficking is. So networking is a big thing. We have to keep our networking open so people can be aware that it is going on in Louisiana. It's going on in all states, all of the states. And the government here is allocating money so they can get awareness out to the masses.
Now, am I hearing you correctly? Are you saying that you feel that the Trump administration is addressing this problem appropriately?
No, I'm not saying that.
Oh, okay.
I'm not saying that.
I just want to make sure.
I'm just saying that Louisiana has a grant, that they just got awarded a grant to get this awareness out, because a lot of people aren't aware that it's going on. There are a lot of churches in my community that didn't even know it was happening. They weren't even aware of it.
Yeah.
So getting that awareness out, getting the word out, letting people know that it is happening. It's happening all over, and it's happening here.
Do you find an uptick in human trafficking when we have major events here?
Yes, that is one of the biggest things. Human trafficking, it doubles when we have events. When we have like the festivals that go on here in Louisiana, trafficking is higher, it peaks.
Well, we have the fastest hour in television, and I'm sorry to say that we have come to the end of the road here, but I want to thank both of you for coming in and telling us about your programs. We will be having you back again because I believe this is something that we need to be more attentive to, and we need to let our viewers know more about it. So if you would, Demetrice, tell us about the run and everything so people will know a week from this Saturday what is happening.
A week from this Saturday, we will have the Root Out Child Abuse 5K Family Fun Run. Please bring out all of the kids. We'll have bouncers, sports equipment. We'll have Bamsey Baby Productions out. We'll have Gigi Pinder as our headliner, Rooftop Rave. We'll have Diamonds in the Rough performing, Fierce Motions, as well as Dana Michelle, who will be singing as well. And so we want you guys to come out, enjoy yourselves, bring your lawn chairs, free food, free drinks, and we just want to make sure that you guys understand the importance. You'll get information. You'll have different organizations there to disseminate the information on human trafficking, what's available out there, what to look for, who to call, how to call. You know, you can even text information now. So everything is anonymous. We just want to make sure that we're keeping you safe, we're keeping your kids safe, and our community safe.
Give us that phone number once again, please.
504-421-3794.
We want to thank you both for being with us and sharing with us the information I feel is vital to our community, and we'll look forward to having you back real soon. I want to thank our viewers for the participation that you show all the time for our programs. As you know, you can reach us by YouTube. We're put the programs, each week's program up there, so you can find us on YouTube. And As always, look at that book. Don't forget about that. You can go by the Community Book Center and pick up that Our Story, the original Holocaust. It's there waiting on you. I want to thank you for being with us. I want to say that it's time for us to come together as a people, a time to come together as a community. We have to stay strong. We have to stay involved, but more importantly than anything, we must stay committed to blackness. Uhuru Sasa Mgawa.
Around the copper frame, we sing songs not for the accolades, to lift voices like a helicopter blade. High in the listening skies, my eyes glisten and tears drop down like rain. Not from the pain, from the joy of how far we came. My brainstorms are designed to celebrate our reign. Yeah, when you put it in perspective, the collective, monuments erected, continents affected, presidents elected, ancestors making moves with the music we've been blessed with. We use it to keep communities connected. Through harmonies, a harmony is collected. Reaping the fruits our foremothers invested. Lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, yeah, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, listen, lift every voice till freedom has manifested. Come on, come on, come on.
Sing a song,
yeah, talk to
full of the faith that the dark past has taught us.
come on.
Sing a song, full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun
Facing the rising sun, come on.
of our new day begun.
It's a new day.
Let us march on
Yeah.
till victory is
Yeah,
won.
until
Till victory is
This is
won.
victory music. Come on, I hope you feel it.
Ba-ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-